Hello everyone, it's Tammy2009 and I'm super excited to show you something that I could not wait to make. Now, I know why you clicked here. I know why you're here. What you're looking at is the start of a new era, a new project I might make. So what you're looking at is the Gauge 1 James prop used in the TV show. Now, the model series has to be like my favorite Thomas series, and I know a lot of people have grown up with the model series of Thomas the Tank Engine. And one thing that always amazes me is the model trains they used here. Like, in the TV show, they actually used model trains that they scratch built from Gauge 1 Mark 1 trains. And one thing that does amaze me about the Thomas community is that there are a lot of people who do make Gauge 1 Thomas props, like props used in the actual show. So, I thought I'd give it a try, and sadly, I have made a few Gauge 1 models in the past, but I just never finished them, sadly. But now that I'm here, we've been able to finish at least one character. Now, this isn't 100% complete. He is missing a few pieces like the handrails and whistle and the coupling hooks, but I will eventually add those. But for now, I just want to be like simplistic. Like, there's a Lionel G scale James that just has a molded whistle on the cab roof. The G scale Lionel James doesn't have any handrails, so I thought it would be inspired by the Lionel G scale James, but I think this is still recognizable as the Gauge 1 James replica. Now, the first character I did want to start off with is James. I know that a lot of people start off with Thomas, since Thomas is just a basic character that I know a lot of people start out with, but instead of starting off with Thomas, I thought I'd start off with one of my most favorite models of the series, James the Red Engine. So when I first watched Thomas, I thought James was the most beautiful looking models. Like, I think all models are beautiful, but James is just the most appealing to the eyes. Like, he's got a nice splendid red paint. I love his golden dome. I love his gold stripes.
This is big. It's probably, what, 12 inches long and about 6 inches tall, maybe a little bit more.
Bachmann did make G-scale Thomas trains that have CGI faces. However, they are, like, gigantic compared to the Gauge 1 trains. Like, when I first heard of the Gauge 1 props being made, I didn't know they were this tiny. Like, I was expecting to be the same size as G-scale, but these are just, like, smaller than G-scale.
This is about the size of a toilet paper roll.
So, I still think that James is one of the most beautiful characters in the show. I think he has a good character development. Like, he's probably one of the most relatable characters, which is why I decided to make him first. Like, I mean, when you start off young, you probably do relate to Thomas, but then when you get older, you do relate to, like, characters like James and Gordon. Like, James is just one of the characters I relate to the most.
How many different printings did it take?
Now, I had to, like, separate the smoke box, the boiler, and the cab. If I would print the whole thing, this whole piece here, it would have taken, like, a day and 46 minutes, I think.
Wow.
But I decided to print everything separate. Like, there are a lot of separate files on Thingiverse. Like, James was made by a user named Jamos Tranos, and he has made a lot of other Gauge 1 props as well.
How many different ones do you think it took to do it?
Well, I don't know.
Files?
There's probably, like, a lot. It's hard to count, but if I did count, it would take me longer than what I'm actually talking about here. So, he's made other characters like Thomas, Percy, Toby, Oliver, Edward, Duck, Diesel, Stepney. Like, there's just, like, so many characters in the model series. Like,
that's awesome.
Honestly, I think they could have, like, taken the cheaper option and just made HO scale trains with just faces slapped on there, but they took the expensive route, and they actually gave these trains big details. They made them super accurate.
Are you going to try to make all of them?
They gave them animatronic eye mechanisms so that the eyes move left, right, up, and down. And they made them motorized so they actually work like real trains. Even smoke units so that they can puff real steam.
In that size?
Yeah.
Okay, that's impressive.
Now, there are a few things that do confuse me about the model series, which I'll probably talk about that later, but I'm still surprised that they shelved out so much money to make this show, and honestly, I'm just happy that this show did become a reality. I honestly thought they wouldn't have enough money to do this, but they did. They made as much characters as they could. They tried to adapt a couple of Audrey stories, but they did make their own after Audrey passed away.
I wonder what the set looked like.
Now, they did make multiple sets. Like, it's not all one big layout. They just, like, did different individual locations, like Knapford Station, Tidmouth Sheds, Brenham Docks, the Quarry. You name it, they made it. And
are they all in a big warehouse or what?
I don't know what studio they used to film these model trains, but they did, like, 26 episodes per season. They made 12 seasons of the model series.
Wow.
Only 7 of them are good. The first 7 are good. Seasons 8 through 12 are mediocre and bad, just because they flanderized the characters. But I'm just happy that James did stay in character. And honestly, I think James is a pretty amazing model. And
do you want to show the tender?
So, there are a few things that do confuse me about James. Like, this is his season 1 through 5 model. Like, in season 6, they did change his model. Now, originally, when they first made these models, they made the eye mechanisms very big, so they had to, like, cramp it all into this one compact space. So I think they had to make newer models to make the eye mechanisms smaller. So that way they'll have more room. But honestly, I'm honestly wondering why they had to, like, keep rebuilding old characters from scratch when they could just, like, just did some minor modifications to them. Like,
how did they control the eye mechanisms?
There are 2 servos in the inside that are powered by an RC unit. And
oh, that's cool.
Just to make, there's one servo that for up and down movement, and there's one servo for left and right movement.
So nobody has to get in there and touch it?
No, which is amazing. Like,
that is cool.
When I was a kid, I honestly wonder how these models worked, and now that I'm older, just the more you know is more amazing.
What year did they film them?
Thomas first came out in 1984, and then they stopped production with the model series after season 12, which came out in 2008, and in 2009 they used CGI, which is cheaper than model animation.
But nowhere near as cool.
But nowhere near as good. I mean, they do still look like actual trains, like the actual trains used in the model series. They didn't, like, change their designs entirely. Like, they didn't make entirely new designs. They just kept the same models. But I do think they're rendered good in CGI from seasons 17 to 21. Now, one thing about James's funnel is that in the original series 1 through 3, his funnel was made of plastic, and then during production of season 3, his funnel did snap, so they had to, like, put black tack on it, which looked very, very weird on the model.
You could see it in the show?
Yeah, you could see the black tack.
Oh, wow.
But then they made a new funnel out of brass, which is a good move, because brass is more sturdier than plastic. It's more durable. Anyways, they had to upgrade James's model entirely in the hit era. Like, they did make 2 brass models, but they painted one into the Busy Bee James. Like, they took this red James and just painted him over with yellow and black stripes. And then after that, they just repainted the model red over the yellow and black.
Really?
Which is kind of interesting. Also, one thing in Thomas and Magic Railroad, during filming in one scene, James accidentally did fall off the set and break.
How did you learn all this?
From the Thomas live action legacy someone made. They didn't make a full documentary on the model series.
That's awesome.
Explain the props that they do have, and the User Thomas tank merch actually does have the real James prop. And then
How?
I don't know, like, they also have Edward, Scarlowi, and Rusty, and Duncan, and a few of the narrow gauge coaches.
Oh, wow.
And then there was a YouTuber who did make a 3 printed gauge one Thomas that actually does run on track. It is motorized, and then it does have an eye mechanism.
Oh, wow.
And he also made Percy. He's thinking about making Toby as well.
That would be awesome.
But anyways, I would like to make more trains eventually. Like, my main goal is to do Thomas, Annie, Clarabelle, the Troublesome Trucks, and the different figurines. Like how Lionel G Scale made their model trains, but then they got discontinued after that. I would eventually like to do Edward as well, since he does look like James, if I can find a 3-face for Edward. Anyways, now the tender here is kind of interesting. So it's all one big piece. Like, the wheels are separate, and then you have this connector here that joins the tender together. And then you have the coal load in there, which is amazing. Like, the coal is made from fish tank pebbles. I just poured them all in there and glued them on.
That's awesome.
And the tender does connect. So, now, the only issues with James is that his tender doesn't roll as smoothly as the main piece. And because I have no G-scale track, the bogey does get in the way of the wheels. So, because the bogey is what helps James stay on the rails, just so he doesn't derail.
You can print a piece of track though, right?
I might also buy some G-scale track.
Oh.
Now, his wheels do roll pretty good.
Wait, so the 1 scale Thomas or
Gauge
trains
one.
will fit on G-scale track?
Yes.
Okay.
These are designed to fit on G-scale track. They
Cool.
took some Gauge 1 Mark 1 trains, saw the chassis, like, they did some modifications to them just to, like, scratch build the models out of plastic or brass.
So that they wouldn't have to make all new track.
And then they also put in DCC coding to make every model run individually.
Okay,
so
that's impressive.
So that they're all just not running with each other on the tracks.
Right.
So that it shows the idea that they are real trains. Because real trains do not move together when they're on track. They do move individually. So I think it's amazing. I would eventually like to make a non-running Thomas, but then I would like to make a second Thomas and try to give it a motor.
That would be cool.
I don't know if I might make an eye mechanism as well, since
Could you take the eye mechanism out of one of your Bachmann trains and just adapt it?
that would be too small. These are like gigantic.
I know, but couldn't you use the motor and everything, the mechanism?
Probably not. Like, people do still make eye mechanisms for their Gauge 1 trains. Like,
what do they make it with?
They use actual servos. They make the eyes out of like white beads, I say.
Oh wow! And they
and
move.
Then they try to make the brackets as well, just to like get the eyes to go up and down and left and right. They do draw on the pupils as well.
That's impressive.
And then I probably don't know how they make the motors, but I would say like I have seen someone actually give Thomas a motor. Like, there was a YouTuber who did make a full-on video how he built his Gauge 1 Thomas, and it's mainly 3 printed parts, and it's a motor.
That's cool.
So I know that you're probably going to be asking me to make the handrails and whistle, which I will do that, since they are most important on the train. Like, there are a few pieces that do make up a train. You have the funnel that...
Yeah, we're waiting on a new hot end to replace the hot end on your Ender 3.
Now, without the whistle, it would be kind of dangerous if the engine didn't have a whistle, because the whistle is what alerts people.
It would be like a car without a horn.
Yeah, and then the handrails are... I don't know what the handrails are for, but I'm guessing that's what the people do.
When they stand up on here to check on stuff, they probably have to have a way
to have the handrails.
Yeah, to raise themselves up.
So, and then the coupling hooks are what connect them to rolling stock, like freight cars. Which I would like to do the couplings as well, just until I make some rolling stock for James, because I want to make the troublesome trucks that go with James in the Lionel G-Scale James set. And then I had this idea to like make different face masks for James, but this is actually permanently glued on with Gorilla Glue. Like, it was just one idea I had.
Yeah, we could make it where it comes on and off.
I would like to make it like a Halloween mask almost.
Yeah.
But they did make them... When they made Lionel G-Scale James...
Would you want it to go over the top of this, or would you want this to come off and a different one to go on?
I would want the thing to like go over the thing,
top.
like a Halloween mask.
Gotcha.
Like just a hollow face.
Yeah. So you just use that like as a relief mask and the other's a little bit bigger. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so...
That's a good idea.
Honestly, yeah, I would like to make... Like, when Lionel G-Scale did make James, they gave him like 3 different face masks. You have one for the angry face, you have a shocked face, and a sad face. Like, I always like the different faces they gave James in the show.
It's like Mr. Potato Head, my angry eyes.
Like, they also, like, made every train a different face so they're not always smiling. So that they can emote different emotions in the show, like angry, shocked, or sad. Which I thought amazing. I like James's angry face and then his sad face.
Just not the bee face?
Now, they did... The only thing they did was they actually put a red nose on James's normal faces.
With what?
Like, I don't know what they did.
Like clay or something?
But I still did like James's faces overall. Like, I would say this is my least favorite smiling face he's made. I like the thicker smiling face. But this one isn't too bad, but...
I like that one. It's pleasant.
It is okay.
You're at 15.
Alright, so... Anyways, I hope you're excited for this Gauge 1 project thing to start, because I would like to be on the actual show behind the scenes. It just gives you that experience. Like,
yeah, the size is great. I'm impressed.
honestly, like,
tactily cool because they're so big.
making these Gauge 1 trains just gives you that visual of being on the set with Britt Allcroft and the other people who did work on the earlier seasons.
They look like real characters instead of toys because they're so big.
So I think this is money saving as well, because you're not paying a lot to like make a Gauge 1 prop. I've seen people use a lot of other crafts that aren't 3D printed parts.
You used probably one whole roll of Hatchbox and half of another one, so less than $50.
Yeah, so less than $50.
Yeah.
I would eventually like to make the other trains. Like, my main goal is to do Thomas, Annie, Clarabelle, the trucks, and the figurines.
Are you wanting to use white filament for all of them?
Yes, because it's easier to paint.
Base color.
I just like to start off with James, just not be basic, but just because James has always been the most appealing models. Like, I think there are a lot of beautiful models like Percy, Toby, Emily, Lady, Diesel 10 with the claw. And then you have other characters like Gordon and Henry. Like,
is there a Diesel 10 of this on Thingiverse?
No, there isn't. They did also make a Scarloey in the narrow gauge engines in the model series. Like, eventually I would like to make Thomas and
what about Dodge
Edward.
and Splatter and Lady?
I don't know yet. I don't know if I might do other characters besides those ones I mentioned, as well as Edward and a troublesome van. Because I would like to have my collection have enough room to fit everything. If you were to ask me to do other characters that aren't Thomas, Annie, Clarabelle, and the trucks, that would depend on if they have any 3D faces on Thingiverse. Currently, there isn't one for Edward. There's not one for Emily. There's not one for Toby.
The faces?
No. They did have a face for Percy, which I might do if you ask me. But I would like to eventually make my collection bigger. Just give that visual of recollecting my childhood, because this screams childhood nostalgia to me. And I can't wait to get some track to like run James on, even though he's not powered. Like, you actually can make these motorized if you want to.
Is G-Scale what they have at my dentist office that goes around the top?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about? The big ones that goes all around the top of the office?
That might be G-Scale, I don't know.
They're about that size. They're good size trains. Yeah,
these are like pretty small for their size, but at the same time, it's very amazing that they took an expensive choice. Like, honestly, it must have been worth their money. I'm sure they might have been happy with doing this. Just like make.
Well, it turned out well for them.
Yeah, and I'm happy that they did make the show reality, and this did get popularity by fans. And even though Thomas is dead in the water, people are still writing their own Thomas stories, making Gauge 1 props.
Did they make separate videos and scenes for the Shining Time Station vignettes, or were those just scenes from other episodes?
Well, the Shining Time Station episodes are just the live action scenes. Then Mr. Conductor tells the stories of the model series, and then they are the actual model series episodes, but just George Carlin narrating
talks
the
about them. Okay, instead of them talking to each other.
Instead of Ringo Starr narrating.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know.
So they did make a US dub after they did the UK dub, just to like sound good in Shining Time Station.
Who did the voice? George Carlin.
George Carlin. And then he was replaced with Alec Baldwin, and then Alec Baldwin was replaced with Michael Brandon. And he narrated from season 7 through 12 before they did CGI. And then after season 6, Michael Brandon was replaced with Mark Morgan. Like, originally I thought the narrator was Andrew Brenner, but I just wasn't paying attention to the credits. Andrew Brenner actually is the writer for season 17 to 21. Oh. And crazy enough, Andrew Brenner did write some season 3 episodes.
He must have been young.
So I'm surprised that the Andrew Brenner himself wrote a few season 3 episodes, but most episodes were based off of Audrey's Railway Series books. So I think they had to change Percy's model just to make him waterproof, so that they could adapt Percy's promise.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I honestly don't know why they had to like change, like they had to replace some models when they could just like did some minor modifications and then save money to make more characters.
When they did the one where Thomas comes to breakfast and breaks through the thing, did they just add pieces to it?
So now the thing about the crash scenes is that they actually do damage their models, but then before the next episode, they just quickly restore them to their former glory.
What a job.
Yeah, like...
If that was like your career was to repair the models for the series, like, that would be awesome.
It's also interesting how they sometimes do play rough with their models and then they replace
and
then they fix them.
Mm-hmm.
But if they didn't do the crash scenes, it wouldn't just have been exciting, because I think the crash scenes are what make them stand out, because the first 4 seasons were like a slice of life feel, and then season 5 had an epic, adventurous, intense style to it.
Yeah.
Just to promote Magic Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might have done the same thing to season 6 and 7, but I did like the visuals. And I did like the new characters they added.
Okay, you're at 20 minutes.
Okay, so I'm sorry if I talked too long, but
no, I had a lot of questions. It's awesome.
Honestly, there's a lot of things to talk about seasons 1 through 7 of the model series, because with CGI you can't like do a lot of things, but you can actually be cheaper than stop motion animation if you use CGI, but it's just not as...
It doesn't have that historical feel.
Like, there are a few shows who did use stop motion, then they went to CGI, like Fireman Sam, Bob the Builder, which is okay, but it's just not as impressive.
Yeah,
it's not as charming. Like, the model series did have a nice appeal to it, where it just gives you a visual of actual train props running.
Well, and they sound different,
it's satisfying.
too.
It's just a satisfying feel, seeing the wheels turn,
Yep.
seeing the smoke rise out, seeing the eyes move, and then seeing the different expressions, even though the mouths don't budge.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
Yeah, so...
We'll see what your
recollect
viewers think.
So, making these Gauge 1 trains is amazing. If this video actually does get popular, I would be pretty impressed with how much views this might get. If you guys love this Gauge 1 James, I love this thing to death. Tell me in the comments below. Because I had a lot of fun making James, and just having him just makes me feel like I'm on the actual show.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it just like gives you that world experience. So if you're excited for more Gauge 1 props, I will make some more Gauge 1 trains. So I hope you stay tuned for that. And if you have any ideas for Gauge 1 props, like props from the actual show, tell me in the comments, because I would like to recreate my own scenes, maybe, I don't know. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!